Hey folks, before we get started, I wanted to provide a content warning. We will be discussing a man accused of war crimes today. Though he did not go into great detail about his crimes, they are addressed frankly. Please use caution if you think this will be upsetting to you. In February, German authorities arrested a Syrian national by the name of Anwar Raslan. Raslan can be fairly described as a bad dude. In Damascus, Raslan was a colonel in Bashar al-Assad's military intelligence agency. During his tenure, he oversaw a compound called Branch 251. In this place, 600 people were forced into a space made for no more than 200. Detainees were deprived of basic necessities like medical care and food. Those held were also subject to torture and sexual assault. Several even lost their lives. Like I said, this guy is an asshole. In fact, when Mr. Raslan fled Syria in 2012, hoping to escape the violence like so many others, it seems that his reputation as a total dick preceded him. Upon his arrival in Germany, many of the other Syrian refugees and migrants already knew who he was. In a bizarre twist of fate, he even ended up living in the same community as some of his former detainees. It goes without saying that it didn't take long before German authorities became aware of Mr. Raslan. I bring this up because the trial of Anwar Raslan has another dimension outside of the punishment of one asshole for his crimes. Interestingly, how Anwar Raslan is or is not prosecuted for his crimes might affect how assholes all over the world will be prosecuted for their crimes. This case relies on a very cool sounding legal concept called universal jurisdiction. Basically, it suggests that certain crimes against humanity, for instance, create exceptions in traditional jurisdictional schemas. You see, if Raslan had randomly shot somebody and fled to Germany, a German court wouldn't necessarily have the legal authority to prosecute him. The crime didn't happen in Germany, and no Germans were involved, after all. However, some prosecutors in Europe have begun to argue, like I said earlier, that certain crimes create a sort of universal jurisdiction, thus the name. In theory, the crimes we are talking about here are war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, etc. This extremely modern line of thinking completely eschews the norms of how such crimes have been prosecuted in the past. It should be noted that this has not been an easy process for the prosecutors. Previous attempts to bring cases under the same universal jurisdiction claims involving other suspects have floundered in the face of trepidation, cautious prosecutors, as well as a lack of evidence and prosecutorial resources. That said, the advancement of this legal project is significant. The Atlantic quotes Stanford professor Beth von Schack as saying, "This is a sign of the development of a new system of international justice that is more integrated than ever before." The effects of the eventual ruling in this case could indeed be quite far-reaching. A few examples of how this might play out. The first is that this case sets a precedent. If that happens, it will almost certainly be easier to prosecute war crimes. Currently, war crimes are mostly tried at the ICOJ, a slow, deliberative body that lacks dexterity and has an extremely full docket. We also must be careful. In the past, the prosecution of war crimes has basically been selectively enforcing human rights law in poor nations and ignoring them for more powerful nations. It's not as if a nation could just arrest Henry Kissinger for his crimes with impunity in the way that Germany has arrested Ruslan. The fear of such incidents is the exact reason why that the U.S. still has not ratified the ICOJ to begin with. We here in the U.S. shouldn't just be okay with that, by the way. But perhaps this is a good way to end. Kafka's parable seem to ring true into this new century. We are still hopelessly caught up in the law in ways we don't even fully understand. This is in a world of panoptic surveillance and increasingly authoritarian leaders, has made it more important than ever to engage in the law, to be citizens who speak up to change the law, and indeed to use the law to create a better society for us all. Because what else can we do? See you next time.